Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of Light Sports Ramble. Always my pleasure to come to you, and I'll tell you, I am excited about the next 8 days. The next 8 episodes are going to be rocking because we're talking about NFL football. And who doesn't like NFL football? Every day, going to preview another division. And tonight, we start with the NFC North. And the way I see this going is I'm going to preview every team from the way they finished last year and tell you what I think is going to happen this year as far as positioning. Not going to go with records till later in training camp. Got to see what happens. So we're going to start with the Green Bay Packers, champions of the NFC North last year. Biggest question going into training camp has to be offensive line. What are you going to do with that offensive line, Green Bay? Are you going to fix it? Because if you're not going to fix it, Aaron Rodgers is not going to live out that contract you signed him to. You had best figure out how to protect Aaron Rodgers. And then also, are you going to allow that team to run the ball? Now, you addressed it in the draft. You drafted Eddie Lacy. You drafted Jonathan Franklin. Those are great pickups. I love both the backs. Eddie Lacy fell for a reason. Injury problems. How can he handle getting beat up in the NFL? And if you don't block, he's going to get beat up again. And he's going to be hurt and be on the IR. And he's not going to do any good for your team. I personally think Jonathan Franklin is a much better fit for that Packer offense. So I'm calling it right now, today, folks. Jonathan Franklin is actually going to have a better year than Eddie Lacy in that offense. And then finally, the free agent loss of Desmond Bishop. I know the Packers said, we release you. Go ahead. Go where you want to go. You heard my ramble. I think he went to Minnesota just to try and punch us Packer fans in the gut. And that's okay. Because I still think you can play Desmond Bishop, and I think it's going to be hard to replace you in that defense. It's already an average defense, if not below average, and now we have to replace you. So that's a huge question as you're trying to defend your NFC North championship. What are you going to do there? But Dayton Jones, I think, is a great draft pick, opposite of Clay Matthews, another speed rusher on the outside, and that guy is a beast. Losing Greg Jennings, yeah, it hurt. But you know what? Randall Cobb did a lot better, Mr. Jennings, when he took over your role when you were hurt. I have no problem with that receiving core. Plus, there's Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. So, moving on to last year's wild card team, the Minnesota Vikings. The team that picked up Mr. Jennings and the team that picked up Desmond Bishop. It's a great pickup on the defense. And holy cow, the Vikings going into the first round. 3 first-round draft picks. Just crazy. I was sitting on draft day going, oh my God, you are really trying to beat the Packers next year. And then you go in and you pick up Floyd in the first round. Great draft pick. Then you pick up Xavier Rhodes to try and stop the Packers' pass attack. Another great draft pick. And then you go to try and complement Mr. Jennings with Patterson at wide receiver. So you're trying to put talent around Christian Ponder. The problem I have with this is I don't think Christian Ponder is your quarterback. I don't think he has the skill. So it doesn't matter if you have Greg Jennings. It doesn't matter if you have Patterson. He's got to get them the ball, and I don't think he can make the throws. Go back to the playoff game. A Packer defense that really got exposed against the 49ers, Ponder couldn't do anything. He couldn't do anything. And then going into that, can Peterson repeat what he did last year at 2,000 yards? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get 2,000. Maybe 14, 15. Maybe. But if Ponder can't make the throws, now they might stack up on the run. That defense, though, I think that defense could be the best defense in the NFC North this season. You really upgraded with Floyd. You have Jared Allen. You added Desmond Bishop, and I still think he can play. So I think your defense is going to be very, very good. Third place team, the Chicago Bears. 10-6 and did not make the playoffs. If anybody listened to my ramble over the weekend about changing the NFL playoff format, I think the Bears were playing really good at the end of the year, and that would have been that surprise 7th or 8th team that could have made some damage in the playoffs. But nonetheless, Bears didn't make the playoffs. Lovie Smith is out. Trestman is in. And the only reason Trestman was the guy is because he has a resume for coaching quarterbacks, and Jay Cutler is in the last year of his contract. And I'll tell you what, Mr. Cutler, you had best perform this year to go to the bank. Otherwise, you'll be looking for work, and if you cannot perform, there's going to be some issues in Chicago. But here's the thing. Like the Packers, the Bears' offensive line just was terrible. And Jay Cutler, I feel for you because I watched Aaron Rodgers get pounded like you got pounded. The only difference is Aaron Rodgers doesn't blame his offensive line. And you do it on the sidelines. Stop doing it, Jay. Play the game. Especially this year, because you're in a contract year. But unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to improve. Yes, you drafted Kyle Long. And yes, you went out and signed Jerome Bouchard, a Pro Bowler. But is that going to fix that offensive line? I'm not so sure it's going to. I'm really not. But the big question for the Bears is, what are you going to do about that declining defense? You let Urlacher go, and you picked Bostic in the draft. Think he's a great player. But you are now replacing a Hall of Fame linebacker. The guy that put fear into the other quarterback. And I don't know if Bostic's going to do that right away. And yes, you got Lance Briggs. But now Bostic is the play caller in the middle. That's a lot of responsibility for a rookie middle linebacker. Good luck, Chicago, on that. Moving on to Detroit. Jim Schwartz. You had best get that team out of the cellar, or your job is history. You got the talent. Now coach them. Just coach them. Much better than the record you had last year. So where's the problem? And sorry, Jim Schwartz, I think the problem is you right now. You have too much talent on that team to be 4-12. But unfortunately, until you prove something, I don't think you're moving up much. But let's look at it. I think the biggest pickup that you guys had this offseason was Glover Quinn from the Texans. A guy that can actually quarterback the defense from the back. You already got Farley. You got Sue. And then you go into the draft and get Ezekiel. The guy that I wanted the Packers to get, and on draft day I was watching and I said, no way. Don't tell me the Lions got him. You're already adding to a great front seven. Holy cow. But it doesn't matter. You need to have the secondary. So getting Quinn was a huge pickup for you guys. Now you lost Averill and you let Van den Bosch go. But I'll tell you what. I think Quinn in the back is a great pickup for you guys. As you noticed, Lion fans, I didn't talk about you guys getting Reggie. Because I don't think it is that big of a pickup for you guys. You're still a passing team. You just gave Stafford mega bucks, and you got Megatron. Now, Reggie Bush may keep the defense honest, better than what you've had in the backfield. But like a couple other teams in this division, you had better make sure that offensive line can block for him. Because the bottom line is Stafford to Johnson, Stafford to Johnson. That's what's going to win games if that defense can take care of business. I think Stafford's a heck of a quarterback. I think he's on the brink of being elite. The problem is he's got to play from behind, and by the time he comes from behind, that team is exhausted. But I think you got a chance. But I think your problem is not in the players. I think your problem is in the coach. And so with that said, folks, the way that I see the division rolling out, in about a week from now, I'll give you records and I'll tell you how they're going to finish record-wise. But the way this is going to roll out, it's going to be Green Bay defending the NFC North Championship. Minnesota falling in second place again. The Bears right there. And unfortunately, Jim Schwartz, you're going to lose your job at the bottom of the pile as the Lions come up the rear. So with that said, folks, Red Light Ramble done for tonight. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great evening.